there are two sides to Dan Quinn. One of them being the guy who was a defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks and was the main focus for the Legion of Boom. The coordinator who formed it, who created a new way to play cover 2 defense, and I'll get to in a minute, and really created a defensive system that can benefit everybody at the same time, no matter the talent on the field. Also bringing in guys like Kyle Shanahan and Matt LaFleur into the league. Kyle Shanahan coming from Cleveland, and he turned him into an offensive powerhouse and brought Matt LaFleur into his first coaching job. Bringing guys like that, also having guys like Chris Richard and other defensive staff members on his defensive side of the ball that are now coordinators or still position coaches in the league. So you can say from the 2013-14 Dan Quinn, he changed the game forever. At least the modern day style of football forever. Defensively and offensively. Because both the offensive coordinators he had or offensive minds that he had on the other side of the ball are now some of the best offensive minds. And they would have had a chance if it wasn't for Dan Quinn. Then there's the second side. The guy who coached the Atlanta Falcons for a handful of years and had the 28-3 lead. And ever since then, after blowing that, they have not been that powerhouse franchise that they were at the time. And we're going to go through all those little things. Currently, Dan Quinn was hired as the head coach, and it's been around a week since the rumor started and almost a week since he was hired. A lot of people are going to be like, why are you making this video so late? When it first happened, I was kind of mad. I was kind of frustrated at, the hiring. The more I thought about it, I was like, I'm not going to make a video. I'm not going to go ranting. I'm not going to go complaining. Watched a lot of tape on the Seattle Seahawks defense when Dan Quinn was there. A lot of tape of the Atlanta Falcons defense when he was in Atlanta. And I started to get a little bit more impressed and excited about what was going on. And also, I was going to wait to make this video until he formed his staff. And currently, he is in the middle of doing that. We don't know who for sure will be the secondary coach or the defensive line coach. But I do want to go over Dan Quinn of how he changed the defense forever. Previously, zone defense was not thought of as a primary way to play defense in the early 2000s. You had guys like Darrelle Revis who were dominant in man-to-man coverage. And then if you did play zone, you gave him an entire side of the field, and that's how he got the name Revis Island. That was how zone was intended to play. With Deion Sanders, you gave him the whole left side of the field. He's going to go attack whoever gets the ball or whoever the ball is going to throw into. That's how zone coverage was thought of before the Legion of Boom. Then the zone coverage, thought or scheme transitioned to everybody gets this little part except for our 2 safeties. When you give 2 guys freedom that are dominant and have the highest IQ in the game, you're going to dominate. So, for example, they had Richard Sherman, who's probably the best zone corner in probably of all time. Other than Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is obviously number 1. You have Darrelle Revis. And then Richard Sherman and zone coverage has to be up there as some of the greatest corners of all time. Because he can shut down a whole side of the field in that zone coverage. And if he did get a little shooken up or needed help, either Thomas or Cam Chancellor is right there to pounce on him. See, Dan Quinn gave the 2 safeties freedom. That was never thought of a defensive coordinator to go say, hey, I'm not going to give you assignment. Just go play football. What that means is he would drop both or one and put one in the box and let them play. If someone needed help, he's going to go. If the run just didn't assign him nothing, just put him up there. That changed the way the game was played. Teams started looking for that dominant safety to put up top and let him fly. Like the Ed Reeds, the Troy Palomalus, who they just put at the top of the field, put them deep, 10 in the box, or like 8 in the box, 2 corners, and put Palomalo up top, put Ed Reed up top, things like that. But now there's 2 of them. Changed the way cover 2 was played forever. That is thanks to Dan Quinn. Also building a staff that fundamentally fit, calling different plays from different staff. One of the first coaches to allow that on his team, which means the defensive line called stunts, the linebackers called blitz and packages, and the secondaries coach called their coverages. That happens quite often in today's NFL. Dan Quinn was one of the original. It happened a lot in the early 2000s, but it kind of shifted when the offensive system was kind of picking up, and teams just tried, or like defense coordinators were just trying to mainly focus on shutting down a high-powered offense instead of trying to game plan and do different stunts on the defensive line. So defensive line can put a different amount of people on the line and do stunts, call blitzes. The linebacker coach would call in a blitz one time, but the communication was key. That's how you build a good staff. And I think Dan Quinn did a good job of that on his defensive side of the ball. You give your team freedom. You give your players on the field freedom to do what they want. That's why Earl Thomas, when he went to Baltimore and he couldn't do that, he was a little bit frustrated. Like, he gets to Baltimore, he's not used to having to follow a coverage all the time. It's exactly why it fell apart in Baltimore. Because when you're used to just going out to the field and hitting whoever you want, going to help double team, just having that chemistry, it's huge. So Dan Quinn trusts Chancellor and Earl Thomas to just be there when they need them on the field or need them to make a play. They showed up. Then Dan Quinn not only had trust in his players, but his staff to communicate together. Okay, you three need to communicate. The defensive line coach, linebackers coach, and the secondary coach all need to come up with game plans so we can enhance and have great communication to get a good scheme going. Dan Quinn built a perfect culture of the defense of the ball. In Atlanta, had a great culture in the start of it in 2016, giving his defensive staff freedom to do whatever they wanted and bringing in an offensive system of Shanahan and LaFleur. Simple. It worked. When Shanahan went to San Francisco and Matt LaFleur went to Tennessee, things kind of dismantled and he couldn't find that replacement. The defense was managed with injuries. And go back to that the hiring of Dan Quinn. I didn't like it at first, but I'm glad we just got rid of Mike Nolan. Mike Nolan is the Adam Gase of defense. Adam Gase had one good year as an offensive coordinator, but he wasn't the reason for their success in 2013 with the Denver Broncos. And he will have an offensive job, whether a coordinator, head coach, positions coach, for the rest of his life because of one good year. Mike Nolan had one good year as a position coach, and the team was very successful. The success wasn't because of him, but he will forever have a coaching job no matter how bad he does because of that one year. Mike Nolan is the Adam Gase of defense. So I'm glad we just replaced him. I'm glad he's gone out of the Dallas system. Tom Sula, first when he was hired, I kind of liked it as a defensive line coach. The defensive coordinator when Aldon Smith was in San Fran, when he had the 30 sacks in 2 years. Aldon Smith back in Dallas, spring Tom Sula. Really didn't work. Aldon Smith did, but Tom Sula just wasn't great. It kind of was a flop. And so was Mike Nolan. I called it. When Mike Nolan was hired, I didn't like it. You look at his defense, he's never had a top 10 defense. The only reason why people say he was good when he was young, he had a linebackers coach where all three linebackers made the Pro Bowl. He wasn't the reason for the success, but because he's the linebacker coach, he got defensive coordinating roles. Kind of like how quarterbacks coaches get offensive coordinating jobs. I mean, look at Cliff Kingsbury, for example. Coached 3 guys in supplemental times, really didn't coach them, and then had success with had success his final year, like at a college level, and gets a head coaching job. That's how it works. So I'm happy that Dan Quinn is our new defensive coordinator. I hope he can bring what he did at Seattle, not Atlanta. Most importantly, build a culture that failed at the end of the Dallas Cowboys system. Thank you guys for watching. Comment down below what you guys think, and I'm out.